As a result of modern technological advancements, digital means of animating have become much more frequent, especially with Adobe Flash, which a lot of low-budget cartoons tend to use. I'm sure we've all seen our fair share of rather bad Flash cartoons on TV, so this video will instead contain, in my opinion, some of the best shows primarily animated or drawn in Flash. The shows on this list defy the typical and generic style of many Flash cartoons, and this list will exclude web series, so this will only include Flash animated shows that aired on television. Also, this won't be specifically judging the shows overall, but rather reflecting off of their art styles. This video idea was on the back burner for a long time, and here it finally is. Yeah, so long that they actually don't even call it Adobe Flash anymore. Anyway, let's begin. My honorable mention is Mucha Lucha. It has a generic and simplistic Flash animation style, however, it's a pioneer in being one of the first cartoons on TV that was fully animated in Flash. Home Movies is a show about Brendan Small, who's an 8-year-old filmmaker, and his home movies that he makes with his friends. Home Movies aired on Adult Swim, and although this show has a rather sloppy art style that an actual 8-year-old could emulate, it still manages to sufficiently defy the generic style of many Flash cartoons. I'm not saying Home Movies is visually appealing or anything, I just think its art is really unique and different. Not this Kappa. Kappa Mikey is a show about an American guy named Mikey Simon and his adventures in Japan where he stars on a show called Lily Moon. This show documents the life of Mikey and his co-stars living under the limelight and being on a crime-fighting show. Airing on Nicktoons Network, I really enjoyed watching Kappa Mikey and I really like its art style. Although some might find this slightly offensive, pretty much every character in this show from Japan looks like an anime character, unlike Mikey who's from the US. I like how this show has a lot of variation with its character designs, and the show also manages to use three-dimensional CGI elements occasionally. The Exes was a short-lived cartoon that aired on Nickelodeon, and it's about a family of spies. Although the art on this show is simplistic, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The character designs are definitely very unique, there's a lot of good shading, and I like the backgrounds on this show a lot. The Exes seems to be one of the most forgotten Nicktoons, but one thing you can't forget is its art. Like the Exes, El Tigre was also on Nickelodeon, and it's about a boy named Manny Rivera whose alter ego is El Tigre, and his struggle between good and bad, since his dad's a superhero and his grandfather's a supervillain. Both influence him to do good and bad things throughout the series, but I've seen him do more good than bad. Although this might be the show on this list that's the closest thing to having a generic Flash style, it still manages to be extremely unique and creative. The designs are clean cut, the characters have quite a bit of detail, the animation is fluid, and I really like the warm color scheme. I really appreciate the artistic integrity the production crew brought to this show. Archer is an animated series about Sterling Archer, a spy for the International Secret Intelligence Service. The show follows his adventures as a spy while also dealing with coworkers and girls. Archer airs on FX and Comedy Central, and I like how its art style has a really realistic approach. One of the show's character designers said that it's like a 1960s comic book come to life. They tried to make the show look as realistic as possible, and they actually used models as references for some of the characters. It's really nice seeing a show animated in Flash that isn't entirely simplistic. Regardless of my opinions on the show itself, I can't deny that Gumball has a pretty awesome art style. The Amazing World of Gumball is on Cartoon Network, and it's about the life and times of Gumball Watterson and his family. I love how they managed to incorporate 2D animation, CGI animation, and live-action footage all into this show. The art itself is very colorful, and the animation is very cartoony. The Amazing World of Gumball is very creative to say the least, and it's full of imagination. I really enjoy Superjail, but it's pretty easy to get creeped out by it. Airing on Adult Swim, this show is about the things that go on in Superjail, a prison containing some of the world's most dangerous criminals. The show has a pretty psychedelic feel to it, and it contains a lot of violence and gore. Superjail has a pretty unique art style, and some of the influences of it include Yellow Submarine, Tex Avery, John Kricfalusi, and Underground Comics. The art has a bit of a retro and punk feel to it, it has really smooth animation, and I love its color scheme. I also really like some of the characters' faces and expressions. They can get pretty outrageous. Although this show can get pretty ugly and creepy at times, this is definitely one of the better looking Adult Swim animated shows. This is a very recent show, as its premiere was actually on September 19th, 2015. The show's about an idiotic cop named Dazzle Novak and his crime-fighting adventures with his accomplices in Moonbeam City. Many people have called this an 80s-infused version of Archer, and I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult, but nonetheless, it's a great show. Aside from its celebrity voice cast, this show has some really cool 80s-inspired art, and Moonbeam City is very detailed and colorful. It's obviously inspired by shows like Miami Vice, and although it is very 1980s, it's also kind of futuristic in some ways. It has some really nice vaporwave art, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen on TV. Unfortunately though, it was officially cancelled by Comedy Central in March, but I think this show's art was truly something special. From the people that brought you Megas XLR comes Motor City. This series is about a group of rebels called the Burners that are trying to stop the evil Abraham Cain from taking over Motor City. Motor City has a very visually appealing art style. The animation is fluid and many of the characters are detailed with realistic shading. I also like the addition of all the neon colors and its mix of 2D and 3D elements. It's too bad this show only lasted for one season. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends is one of my favorite cartoons of all time. Whether you liked the show or not, you can't deny that it had some amazing art and animation. It aired on Cartoon Network and it was created by Craig McCracken, who's also known for creating Wander Over Yonder and the Powerpuff Girls. The good one. It's about a boy named Mac that has to visit his imaginary friend Blue every day at a foster home for imaginary friends. And if not, Blue will get adopted. I absolutely adore the art style of this show, and I used to try to draw my own imaginary friends in my notepad when the show was on. I especially love the details, color scheme, and designs of the imaginary friends. The rough character designs and the Victorian-era designs in the house are very visually appealing. This show is full of imaginary friends, and its art is full of imagination.
Shut up and take my money!
Well, that's my list of the top 10 best Flash animated cartoons on TV. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like below and tell me your favorite Flash animated cartoons in the comments. It was surprisingly difficult to find shows that were legitimately animated in Flash that didn't look generic, so let me know of any other good looking Flash cartoons that I didn't mention. Also, make sure you follow my social media at MonstersReview and check out my Patreon for some pretty cool stuff. As always, I'm MonstersReview, thanks for watching and have a spectacular day.